morning. So if you're tired and you want to tune out, you can, but you shouldn't, because I feel like this morning my heart is to cast some vision for you guys. I would love to see you guys leave this room with like your future in mind. Does that sound good? It sounds weird. Like, okay, I know your age group is stuck in this like psychological place where it's like you are wired to just think about yourself right now. Like psychologically, your brain's developed in such a way that you just think about you a lot. How many of you often think about like 30, 40 years from now? Raise your hand. I got 2, I got 3. Well, hopefully by the end of today, all of you will be able to say, I'm thinking a little bit more down the road than I have been. That's my hope. That's my passion. I love forward thinking. I'm wired for like legacy, for the generations. I love that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that just like spills out on you guys today, just a little bit. I wanted to take a risk though, because today, what I have to share, it's like, it might be, some might say it might be above your age group, but I don't think so. I think you guys are up for the challenge. Like, I think you guys have capacity to hear what I'm going to say and to turn it into like practicals for your own life. Does that sound good?
Yes.
So if you have ears to hear,
Let us hear.
then let's listen. Okay, so we're going to open up to Joshua chapter 4. If you guys have your Bibles, don't worry, we're not going to do a ton of reading. I'm going to give you a quick version of Genesis to Joshua. Who's ready for speed version? Speed dating Genesis through Joshua. I'm going to give you the backstory. So yeah, if you need a Bible, please come up and get one, okay? Okay, so in the garden, we have God who creates Adam and Eve, and Adam and Eve gives his 2 kiddos, God gives his 2 kiddos a commission. He says, I want you to multiply and subdue the earth. I want you to take dominion over the land, basically. I want you to go rule and be my image bearers.
Sorry, what's the passage?
It's Joshua 4. We're not there yet. We're in Genesis still.
Okay.
I got like 30 minutes of history. I'm just kidding. I always wanted to be a history teacher. So then later on in Genesis, we have God talking to Abraham, and God's telling Abraham, hey, let's keep it up. Thank you. God tells Abraham, hey, I have this promise. I want to make a great nation out of you, out of your people, right? And Abraham and his wife Sarah, they're barren at this time, right? You guys tracking? They have no kids. God's telling Abraham, you're going to have a whole generation, a line of like people. God's chosen people is going to come out of you. They don't have kids. They end up having Isaac and Ishmael. But years down the road, Abraham's family, the Israelites, they become enslaved by who? The Egyptians. I think you guys talked about that a little bit. I wasn't here for that part. They enslaved by the Egyptians. How long are they enslaved? No leaders can answer this. Does anybody know? Yes, like what, 430 years or something they're enslaved? So God's giving this promise to Adam and Eve saying, go subdue the world, take care of it, be my image bearers. He tells Abraham, your kids are going to be my chosen people. I'm gonna like show you what it looks like to walk with me, to talk with me through your kids, yet they're enslaved for 400 years. And then who comes along? Moses! He talks to the burning bush. He doesn't, well, yeah, he does talk to the burning bush. It's God. And then Moses goes and helps set his people free, right? The 10 plagues, who remembers like the locusts, the frogs, the this, the that, the firstborn dying. Are you guys tracking? I know this is a fast speed dating version. So then they have like the crossing of the Red Sea, you know, those plagues take place, the Israelites get finally free from the Egyptians, and the Red Sea closes on all the Egyptians, and they're dead, and the Israelites are winning. And then what happens? They're wandering in the desert for 40 years. And they're like, God, why did you even take us out of Egypt? We were better off then. Yet they had like magical food falling from the heavens every day, and they're like complaining over what God's doing and why he pulled them out of Egypt. Pretty crazy. And then Moses dies. And the people are like, what are we doing? What's happening? And then there becomes a new leader whose name is Joshua. And Joshua's job, Joshua actually means Jesus. Joshua's job was to take the Israelites out of the wilderness and into the promised land. Good job, you guys are awake. Into the promised land. So, like, I don't even know how many years it was from Abraham to Joshua. I tried to look it up, and the timelines were a little confusing at 3 a.m. last night. So it was a lot of years. But there was this promise that God made to Abraham, and it took hundreds and hundreds of years for Joshua to finally lead the Israelites into the promised land. So that's where we're picking it up, Joshua 4. There's one last test before they can get into the promised land, and it's this huge river standing in front of them called the Jordan River. The Jordan River, this thing where, I don't think we're going to read that part. They're about to cross the Jordan River, and something happens that's really similar to the Red Sea parting. So you guys remember when Moses held out his staff, and the waters parted, and there was dry land in the Red Sea for the Israelites to cross. You guys tracking? Give me some thumbs up. Okay. Well, the same thing happens for the Jordan River, where they get to this huge river. They're like, oh my gosh, the promised land's on the other side. How are we going to get there? And so Joshua hears from God, and he's like, well, this is kind of weird, but let's have some priests hold the Ark of the Covenant, which kind of symbolize God's presence, sort of a thing. Let's have them stand in the river, and as soon as they stand in the river, what's going to happen? Does anyone know? Yes. Have you guys read this story? The waters part, just like in the Red Sea. So you've got this river, people are standing in the river with the Ark of the Covenant, and boom, the waters part, and so all the Israelites, I don't know, 1 million people? It's a lot of people, start crossing the river. Okay, so that's where we're picking up in Joshua 4. Sounds good?
Yes.
Anybody want to read for me? Okay, sorry.
Verse what kind of question is that?
Should I just pick ya? I'll pick ya. I'll throw candy at you. Where's the candy bin? I think I did that last time. Just chucked candy at people. I'll do that today too. Okay, so it says, when all the people had crossed the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, now choose 12 men, one from each tribe, and tell them, take 12 stones from the very place where the priests are standing in the middle of the Jordan. Carry them out and pile them up at the place where you will camp tonight. So basically what God's telling them, I'll just paraphrase. I'll just do what Drew does. God's telling them, hey, I just helped you guys cross this Jordan River. You couldn't have done it without me. So what I want you to do is build me a memorial. Some kind of tangible thing to remind you of what I've done. So he calls 12 priests. He's like, pick up some stones, pick up the prettiest stones you can find. And all these guys, I wonder if they were big stones or little stones. I'm not sure, but they pick up these stones and they create, I don't know even what it looked like. Maybe they stacked it, or maybe they built a pyramid out of it. I don't know. But they built this memorial right outside of the river to show this is where the Israelites crossed over into the Jordan River. And the point was, let me find where it is here. Okay, let's pick up at verse 4. We're just going to continue. So Joshua called together the 12 men he had chosen, one from each of the tribes of Israel. And he told them, go into the middle of the Jordan in front of the ark of the Lord your God. Each of you must pick up one stone, carry it on your shoulder, 12 stones in all, blah, blah, blah. We will use these stones to build a memorial. And in the future, this is the part I want to highlight, in the future, your children will ask you, what do these stones mean? You guys ever ask your parents things why do you have that picture in the living room? Or where's this dining room table from? It's from your great-great-grandmother.
Why is the door locked?
Why is it, we will use these stones to build a memorial, and in the future your children will ask, what do these stones mean? And then you can tell them they remind us that the Jordan River stopped flowing when the Ark of the Lord's covenant went across. And these stones will stand as a memorial among the people of Israel forever. Forever. So can anybody paraphrase, what's God doing? Why did he instruct this?
I think it's because I think they always forgot. They would just easily forget what God was doing. They went through the Red Sea, they saw the plagues, and they always forgot what God did for them. So I think this was the first time they were actually going to have something they could look at and be reminded. It would help them.
Yes. How many of us forget what you had for dinner 3 weeks ago? Let's see. January 17th, 2020. What did you have for dinner? Probably mac and cheese, cereal. Response like cereal every night. Yes. I might become that one. Yeah. Okay. So the Lord knows His people. He knows us. He knows our tendencies. We forget. It's okay. We're forgetful people. However, there's a responsibility that we have to steward our history with God. And that's exactly what God's instructing the Israelites to do. He's saying, I want you to steward your history with me. I want you to steward the testimonies, the encounters, if you will, that I've had with you as children. It's your job to steward them so that your kids' kids and their kids and blah, 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 down the road, all those great-grandkiddos will remember what I've done. Now, why is it important to remember what God's done? Just like throw out some answers. I'm going to throw candy at you. I know you probably don't want any. It's so early. Why is it important to remember what God does? Charlie.
Sometimes when we're going through hard times, we look back at that. It always brings us a little hope and joy.
Yes.
Boy, that's
Absolutely.
two.
Okay, you just come
Two,
pick.
yeah.
Come pick. Okay.
Two.
I would throw Twizzlers and probably won't like those. Beautiful. Absolutely. Abby.
I just think that when you like all that God has done for us, sometimes it just brings a little bit of humility, and it makes us realize that we're just like, He did come down to be a man and empathize with us, but we're only man, and He was more than that, and so it's just very humbling.
We're not all that in a bag of chips on our own, right? Like we need a God that can come and save us. It's not of our own doing. So Abby, come. Give it whatever you want. Or I'll throw it at you. Just tell me. What do you want? Sour Patch or Kleenex?
Oh, I already did that.
You come pick. What else? Why else is it important to remember what God's done?
Also, we're all going to get up in us and then we down to cross the
Amen. Right? Let us never forget that we need Him. So good. Go ahead.
Unless we don't fall off track and like fall into sin.
Right? Yep. How many of us ever get discouraged or forget? Right? I think all of us do, especially when you sleep 5 hours. And it is important to have history with God so that you can reflect, you can remember, you have these memorials that you can look back on and say like, oh, God did that for me? Oh my goodness, so exciting. So exciting. Come get your candy. Come down. Come.
Can you just pass this out?
Yes. You good? Okay. I'll give you a pat on the back. So good. So it's important that we become good stewards of our history with God for so many reasons. But did you guys know, I loved how Drew said yesterday that encounters are the starting line. What's the finish line? You guys ever thought of that? What do you think? Do we have it? Okay, good.
So I was gonna say like an in-person encounter.
Ooh, lovely. Charlie?
Maybe peace.
Peace. Okay. It's good. So I want you to think, in the Old Testament, God is called something very often. He's called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's like an odd name, right? I don't even know my great-grandpa's name. I would be able to be like, I am the daughter of Jeremiah, Patrick, and I don't even know the third one. I don't know all the generations. We're not people, our culture doesn't value the generations as much as the Israelites do, but God really does. The fact that He's called God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do you guys know who Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are? They're considered the founding fathers. I don't know. Kind of like John Adams and George Washington. Just kidding. I told you
It's been a while.
Just kidding. But God is often called, He's called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which means that He places Himself in His generational timeline. He's concerned about the generations. When He gave a promise to Abraham, He wasn't just thinking about Abraham, He was thinking about Isaac and Jacob. And us. So it's really cool that God thinks down the line, right? Nothing God does is ever just for us. It's always He's just so cool that whatever he does to us, it's for like 100 million reasons, right? The encounters you had with him this weekend aren't just for you. They're actually for like years and years to come. Like that one encounter you had, like the one encounter I had with God at 16. I was 16 years old, I think 15 and a half, 16. The one encounter I had with him, like, changed everything for me, for my husband, for my son, this little one, whatever it is, and like the kids that are to come way down the road. And so it's interesting to think, like, if God really values the generations, do you guys think we should too? I think so. I think you guys at your age, like, how powerful would it be as a 15-year-old? Shout out some ages. How old are you guys? 12. 500. 50. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No sitting around in church. How else? How old? 15, 14, 16, 13. 8? Yes. 8? No.
No.
Unless you're really smart. Get like 10 grades. So what would it look like? I just want to go into like dreaming mode for a minute. What would it look like as a 15-year-old to start thinking down the road? Okay, so we're going to do a little exercise. I really value history with God. History with God, like to define it, it's like your story of relationship with Jesus, right? So say you had a best friend, you grew up with that person since you were 2, you were neighbors, you did everything together, like you guys have a lot of history if you knew each other since 2, right? If you're like mothers were siblings or something, right? Carrie, you have this in your background, right? Your cousins and whatnot. You guys have known each other forever, so you have like a thick, dense history. Much denser than your and my history, right? We've had a few interactions, they've been awesome, but they're not like 30 years long, right? What would it look like if you guys started building history with God at the ages you are today, and like when you're 60, you're like, man, Holy Spirit and I have been like this since that one time at youth camp when I decided history with God was so important.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be cool? I feel like I have 60 years of like testimonies, memorials, stones. How many stones would that be if you were like 60 years old and had a relationship with God this long? Like a lot of stones. A lot of stones. So for me, history with God looks like, I don't really know how else to capture it other than writing it down. Like writing it down is a great way, journaling is a great way, I don't know, building memorials of some sort is a great way, but the Lord loves when we do like tactile things to represent spiritual things. So that means like building stuff or painting stuff or writing stuff, using our hands, creating something tangible to represent and like kind of record and track our history with God. You guys follow? Does that make sense? So rather just having everything up here, how much cooler would it be to have a journal this thick full of stories, full of like memories and moments of your time with God? Like, I think no matter what, when you're discouraged, you can open somewhere in that 60-year journey of history with God and be like, well, I felt like this before, and this is what he did. Maybe I shouldn't be so discouraged. Or maybe I shouldn't be so afraid. Does that make sense? Are you guys tracking? I know this is big picture concepts, but we can do it. So I value history with the Lord so much. I bought you guys a gift. And I didn't know that Jake got journals for you guys. So you don't have to take one. I won't be offended, but I bought you all journals so that you can start your history with God today. You can start tracking, building your memorial. So if you guys want to come up and get one, you're welcome to. Or you can use the journal that Jake got you guys. But I have a couple exercises I wanted us to do. They're kind of quick, don't worry, not too long. But there's like multiple colors, so take your pick. Whichever you need, lay it down.
Bro, that handle's jacked.
The one we got you guys. Oh, can't. It's gonna run out pretty quick. Just didn't have very many pages.
Oh, just put the handle on the ground.
So if you're interested in continuing history with God and journal,
Why not? Who doesn't love free stuff? Come on now. And you get a journal. And you get
Put
a
it back.
journal.
I've already sent it. I'll pull it back up.
And who needs a pen? If you need a pen, can you guys raise your hand? The team can come around. You're very welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure. Okay, so we are going to do, if you need a pen, please raise your hand just so we know. We want to make sure everybody has something to jot down their history with God with. But I'm going to give you guys some not prompts, because that sounds too Englishy. Okay. Okay, here's what I want you to do. We're going to just go quick on this, because we don't need to belabor it. I want you, again, keep your hand up if you need a pen. I think we'll come around and grab a big shake. I'm just going to stall while we're waiting for our pen. Do you guys like the mood music?
Yeah.
Like the birds in the background? Always. Funny story, let me just make you guys laugh for a minute and try to be like Drew. When I don't know if you guys knew this, but my husband and I, we lived with the Murray family for a couple of months. It was the coolest time ever. Ella graciously gave me her room, and there were mornings where I would put on like bird music. No joke. It was like nature bird sounds. And Reagan one morning was like, you know Reagan, she's so funny. Does Snow White live here? Where's Snow White? She's like, what is going on with all this bird music? It's just so peaceful. Oh my gosh. All right, hands up if you need your pen. Okay, thank you guys. And everybody has a journal, you're good? Leaders, you guys can get one too if you want.
You got one?
Okay.
No, I have the verses. Okay. I think for this exercise, I think we're all in this.
Everyone's participating because we're going to do some discussion time too. With
Right,
it.
did you give me one?
What color?
I don't care. So it's just this.
What's up there? Color?
There. I need yours.
Just to be clear, well, even if you don't want a journal, another journal to take home, we're all gonna participate though.
Yes. Use something to write with your hand. Tattoos could be memorials, right? How many people have tons of tattoos and it's like, don't tell your parents,
I get it.
I want a tattoo!
No, actually.
Get home from Canada, 10 tattoos! It's my history with God. Hey, you'll always be reminded. Okay, here's our activity. I need everybody to... Okay, thank you. Here's our activity to start. I want you to just, not sentences, I want you just to jot down like bullet points. 10 years from now, you will be how old? Write that down. I'll be 25 in 10 years. Just write down the number you're going to be. And I want you just to jot down for like a minute or two where you imagine you'll be at that age. You know, like I would have graduated college. I might be married. I might live in Antarctica. I don't know, whatever you want. It might be possible to like a researcher. A cold weather researcher.
Wow.
Okay, so take a minute, just jot down like ideas of where you want to be 10 years from now.
So we're basically just writing down our ideals.
Not ideals, just like hopes, dreams, what you imagine. I hope to be a teacher, or I hope to have one kid, or I hope to make $20,000 a year, or I hope to not work at Starbucks. Whatever you want. 10 years from now.
Let's go.
I need to pay for the subscriptions. Okay, 20 more seconds. And then I'd like to hear some of your answers. Yes. Yes, hopefully we'll be even more than 10 years from now. Okay, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. What did you guys jot down? 10 years from now. Charlie.
I want to still be in college,
Okay, come on.
get my master's degree, and get a nice job, and then settle in with a family.
And then what?
Settle in with a family.
Settle in with a family. Awesome. All right, who else? Who else? Charlie, do you want to be one? What do you want, girl? Okay, who else? Yes.
I might go into the army.
Oh, come on. Serve our nation somehow. That's awesome 10 years from now. That's a great, great goal and dream. Who else? What else? You just throw out like one piece. You don't have to do the whole thing.
Hopefully like married, maybe with a kid.
Married, maybe with a kid. Cool. Do you want your candy? Who else? Yes. Live in your own house? That's a great idea 10 years from now. Yes. Isn't that kind of weird to think about? You guys living out of your parents' house? Yes. Oh, that's a great one. He wants to have gone to Europe at that point. Who else? Daniel? Go to Paris. Come on, that's a great
You're already in Paris.
Look at you, dreamers. All right, our next exercise. I want you to think of things you would like. Kaden, can I have your eyes on me, please? Thank you. Places you would want to be, things you want out of your life 20 years from now. You'll be like 30s.
Wow.
Yes.
Whoa! Easy, easy.
Wow, slow it down.
That is my age.
How about let's go to 12 years? Let's incremental way. Let's go incremental.
20 years It'll all make sense in 10 minutes. All right, take another minute or two, just jot a couple thoughts down. 20 years from now, what do you want out of life? I told you, you guys just think about yourselves all day long. This is good. You get outside of yourselves. Are any of you, like, show of hands, like, this is hard?
I already planned my future.
Don't worry, it's not planning your future, it's just things you'd love to see happen. What you imagine would happen by then. So weird, isn't it?
Seriously. We can't have these big numbers. On the next one, I'll be done. That's how old I am. In front of my heavenly Father.
All right, I'd love to hear a thought or two. Charlie, go ahead.
I want to be a lawyer.
Ooh, a lawyer, an attorney.
To like help people, say if they're going to jail, and help them see the way,
Come
so that they can go on their path.
on. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, who else? What was that? Being at home as a dad assistant? Yeah. All right, I'm just gonna start picking on you. Yes, Carolina.
I want to be married by that time and maybe have kids, and then I'd be working as an oral surgeon.
Working as an oral surgeon? Oh, come on. You get 2 kisses a candy.
Yes.
Do you want me to stop that? Okay. All right. Kaden, what do you think? You hope to have a family?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Or start one by then, around 30s. Okay, I love it. I love it. I love it. Ella, what about you? Sorry. Traveling. Heck yeah. Like Monica. Yes. Efren. What about you? What about you, Dreamer?
I want a family and a well-paying job and a house.
Family, well-paying job, and house. Awesome. Jordy. Oh, sorry. Come get your candy if you want.
I just read that I don't.
Don't do it. In America. This is American. I'm like, you're always going to be American. I wrote, if you want to hear from me, I will be 50, which just scares me to think about. Holy cow. I wrote that I would love to be running a nonprofit of some sort. I'd love to have a couple books written by then. I'd love to see my kids just happy and loving Jesus. Who else? Ava.
An attorney.
An attorney. Oh my gosh, you got some dreamers. Anyway, a couple kids. Awesome. Okay. This might be the last one, it might not. 30 years from now. Think more also like, where do you want your emotional state to be? Do you want to feel stable? Do you want to feel confident? Do you want to feel like secure? Do you want to feel like you know yourself? Do you want to feel like you have a lot of history with God. Like just think, not just so much positional where you want to be or what you want to do career-wise. Like, do you want to have 2 good friends that you do life with? Or do you want, to homeschool your kids? Those kinds of things. 30 years to that.
No.
I'm gonna be mad. 60. Yeah.
Family disappeared on the road right now.
If you write 40, Natalie, I'm out of here.
Please write 40.
This is so weird. You guys are stretching your like visionary muscles right now, which is just not something you guys do probably too often.
30 years.
Flying car.
Their whole year. Billy and Chad London's life. We already planned
All right, I'm gonna rapid fire call. Isaac, what do you think? 30 years from now, how old will you be? 48. What are you thinking? Stand-up comedian. Yes. Charlie.
I want to have my kids have like close friends I can depend on, and I want my friends to be able to be like me and have a relationship with Jesus.
Absolutely. Who wants to be lonely in their 50s or 40s? Anybody? No, you don't want to be like alone. Who wants to like not have any fun ideas at 40s, in your 40s? Like, you're just boring.
Still be able to.
Nobody wants to be boring. Nobody wants to be lonely or boring. We want to have like creative ideas. We want to have great traditions with our families, right? Okay, the other Isaac.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
How old will you be in 30 years?
Probably just do remember I can't make my family happy.
Beautiful. Oh, come get candy too if you want. And Ryan, what about you?
I'm still thinking about the 40.
How old will you be?
45.
You'll be 45. All right, this will be our last one, okay? You guys can do it, I promise. Oh yeah, one more. Oh yeah. Don't you love it?
Just do when you're 100, when you want
Okay, I know what I'm gonna do for sure. Swinging those.
60 years from now, y'all will be gray-haired, beautiful.
We shouldn't have participated, now I'm sad. No, just kidding.
I'm gonna be 90 years old. 60 years. 60 years. That is a generation and a half from now.
I said hopefully a lot.
Come on, Brenna. All right, imagine, like, what do you want? Okay, let me paint a picture. I'm gonna paint a picture for you. Because we're all gonna be old and probably like retired at that point, right? Okay. What do you want your dinner table to look like on a Sunday night when you're 75 years old or whatever, 60 years from now? What do you want your dinner to look like? Or like a Christmas or a Thanksgiving. What do you want it to look like?
I still want all my teeth and no dentures.
Oh my God.
I want
It's stronger than I ever have.
Okay. You got like 2 minutes on this one, okay? Think hard, exercise that brain.
Play Married Life from Up. That sad song at the beginning.
vision, my ashes are at your dinner table.
They're in a salt shaker.
I just put.
There shall be no death. 60 years from now.
On the dinner table.
On the dinner table.
My ashes, because I'll be dead. I'll be.
You're gonna be like, Mom, the camp was so great except
Rebecca
the
died.
last morning.
I just said hi Rebecca there.
Alright, I want you guys to focus over here, okay? See a lot of chit chat going on. Good, awesome, I love that, thank you. Oh, I went to UCLA, go Bruins. Summa cum laude. With highest honors.
With ice, yes.
You wanna play a game?
Oh, I know what I want. Oh my gosh, I think that's.
Like, really think about this. Think about what would make your heart happy on your day. Not just having to.
Could it be like?
Wait.
Could it be like mac and cheese?
I don't encounters with him like that.
No, like.
I don't
No,
want you to be there. You still have so much life.
I like 80.
Yeah, so much life, babe. I mean, don't you want to be like a fucking 73-year-old who's like, you're faster than our grannies?
Yes. Some of those 70-year-old grandmothers gone. I want to stories about our grandmother. She was still playing for a lady grandma. She was like in her 80s.
I'm learning who all our deep thinkers are just by looking at your faces. All right, can I have you guys, let's bring it to a silence. I'd love to hear from Jake, just a vision or two of maybe dinner table time 6 years from now, or whatever's on your heart.
Having all the plates sit in front of you with kids around you.
Yeah, I would say definitely a legacy of family, but also a couple years back, God gave me a vision of me as an elderly man, surrounded by 20-year-olds. And I was leading like a house church with all these 20-year-olds, and it was like, I don't know if I was 85, I'd be 85 in 6 years, but I was not old, but I was elderly, so I think still preaching the gospel. Tell people about Jesus.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Oh, you're wrong.
Well, you can get some candy. He's the candy man. Bella, what about you?
I'll be 110.
60 years from now, how old will you be? 76. Tell me what you wrote, a couple things.
I wrote, retired but still doing art. Have written a book about places I've been and things I've seen.
Yeah, come on. Great dreams, great vision. Steven, I'd love to hear from you.
Great grandchildren.
Great.
Great.
Wait, are they like wonderfully great or are they like generationally great?
They're not.
Wow, that's crazy.
I have wonderful grandchildren.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Justin, what about you? Yeah, okay. One or two things? How old will you be?